Hey there, special educators. Welcome to Autism Academy 360, a podcast to making your job as special education teachers easier. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Abby, a behavior specialist. And together, we have over 25 years of special education experience.
And I'm a veteran autism teacher. We both are passionate about empowering you with practical teaching strategies and actionable tips and tricks that will help you thrive in your role.
Whether you're a seasoned educator looking for fresh insights, a newbie navigating your first classroom, or a parent of a neurodivergent child, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things autism.
So let's get started with today's episode.
So that they prevent the student from getting to that point of escalation. They can involve some sensory activities, so I do like to collaborate with the OTs and the PTs on specific breaks. The reason being is because I had a student once who I thought it would be a great idea. He had a lot of energy, and I thought it was a great idea to have him go jump on a trampoline. And that works for some kids. And then he came back to the classroom and he was even more hyped up. And I went to my OT and I was like, I have no idea what to do. It's like we just revved his engine up and he is just ready to go even more. And she's like, for this kid, that's exactly what happened. She's like, he still needs that movement, so don't stop that, but add in this strategy afterwards. And it was some sort of deep pressure relaxation technique, which worked perfect for him because he was then able to transfer back to the classroom. So this is just really good to keep in mind that they are the experts and to always reach out to them if you have any questions. Now, think of breaks even for yourself. So if you are at a professional development conference, you might be getting a little bored because we're not used to sitting and listening, right? And you might need a little bit of a break, right? So you get up and you go to the bathroom, fill up your water, and when you come back, you feel ready to listen again, right? You're a little bit more engaged. This is the same thing. It's just looks a little bit different. Rewards, on the other hand, are given after completing a task or demonstrating the desired behavior. It has to come after that positive behavior. Now, this is going to serve, hopefully, as positive reinforcement. Now, reinforcement and rewards are slightly different. So, reinforcement means that it's going to increase the likelihood of the behavior to happen again in the future. So if you have a student who's ever been like, oh yeah, I love Tootsie Rolls, and then they say that they want to work for it and they do like them, but it doesn't change their behavior, it's not a reinforcer. It's just a little reward. So just something to keep in mind. And we're not going to go into all the differences between rewards and reinforcement on this podcast, but just know there is a difference. Now, sometimes they might look similar, and we're going to talk about how you can make them different, whether it's a break or a reward. But it's also important to know that what is a break for one student might be a reward for another. So again, it's very student specific. So they both have really important roles in the classroom. So breaks are important because if you have a student who maybe has a smaller window of tolerance, so they can only tolerate so much stress, whether it is a demand or just tolerating the classroom, the noisy environment. They need these breaks to reset that tolerance window to be able for it to fill up again. And again, the rewards are important because it is going to increase that positive behavior. You want them to first do this so then they can get this. Now, breaks can be set up a few different ways. And I do use both of these. And sometimes I have both types of breaks for one student. So you can either have scheduled or requested breaks. So if you have scheduled breaks, they're at certain times during the day. Now, this has to be given even if the student didn't complete their work. So say, from 9 to 9:30, you're completing math. And at 9:30, they get their break and they know that. But they've been having a really tough time and they didn't do any math work. And a lot of people want to say, oh, well, then you can't go have your break. You didn't do any work. Now, this is a break. This is something that they need to reset to be able to do the work. So they should get that break. And I know it can be counterintuitive sometimes, but really, if you're just going to try to push the student through that, they're not going to be successful. So that is the one way that you can use a break. The other type is having them request. So sometimes I have kids have a break card, and it might be just a simple color coding system. It might be, I've had students who have like dollars, and they have a certain number of dollars throughout the day. And once they spend them, they're gone. Just so students understand, they also need to spread them out and use them when they really need it. So these are two different ways. So scheduled or just having them request them. And at the beginning of requesting these breaks, you need to honor it. And again, this is really hard for us as teachers because they might ask in the middle of your lesson. And as long as you have an adult that's able to help them, or if you're able to have maybe them take a break in the classroom, let them do it while they are learning. Now, if they're starting to take advantage of that and they're constantly doing it to miss your instruction, obviously we have to tweak it. So we have to sit down with them and teach them when are appropriate times to ask for these breaks and when aren't appropriate times. And obviously when they are scheduled, they're not going to be scheduled during your direct instruction. Now, rewards, you can do this so many different ways. You can have, a token board where every hour or every half hour, you can have students get a reward that's obviously very specific to them. You can do it for the morning and then the afternoon. You can do it for the whole day and just at the evening they could get it. You can do it for a whole week. Now, if you are struggling with this, I do have a lot of resources for these, and there's a lot that goes into it than just the resources, but sometimes that can be just the hardest part. So I do have some freebie token boards for you that I will link in the description. I also have behavior contracts, which can be really helpful as well for both of you, both the student and the teacher, because it keeps the teacher honest of making sure that the students do get their reward. That is sometimes the hardest part of it. Now, I get this question a lot where students want to do the thing that they were doing for their break as their reward. And there are slight tweaks that you can make to it to make it different enough so that it's a reward. So I was working with a student the other day who wanted to go to this area with a lot of sensory tools for their reward time. And the teacher looked at me and she's like, well, that's her break. And I said, that's okay. Let's make it a little bit different. Let's make it a little bit more enticing for her. Let's have her go with a peer so she could take a friend with her. And by doing that, it made it really clear to her, because we didn't want to muddy the waters with what's a break and what's a reward, that, oh yeah, you can go to this space and you can bring a friend. And then we are working on social skills. We are helping them build friendships. And there's just so much good that can come from bringing a peer. So I always love to add that in. It's adding like another extra layer. So they are really clear and defined. It's really important when you define these breaks and rewards for students that they are clear on them and the entire staff is clear on them. So typically for students, I will make visuals like a choice board for their breaks and their rewards. And then I'll also give it to the adults, because we don't want someone to offer a break that's actually a reward. So maybe going on the scooter, they're offering them, oh, this can be your break because Johnny does it, right? So it must be a break for you, when actually they don't need that type of break. They need much more calming breaks. And that's actually a reward for them. So do you see how that could be very confusing for the student and for the adults? And then, it could be like, oh, well, their breaks don't work or their rewards don't work. And it's really not that they don't work. It's just that it was implemented incorrectly. Now, this is something that there's a lot of similarities, so it can be hard to really break it down, but it is important to really be thinking about these really carefully for each student. So remember, breaks are really non-contingent. They should not be based on behavior. They're what the students need. So they should be getting those breaks throughout the day, and even if they're having the bad behavior. Rewards, on the other hand, that is something that they have to earn. They don't just get those if they are engaging in the problem behaviors. Now, if you need help with any of this, there are some free token boards for you in the show notes, as well as some behavior contracts that you can go and download. And as always, I love to chat about this stuff. So slide into my DMs, Mrs. Mo's Modifications, and ask me any questions. If you have a specific student that you're struggling with really hammering these out, we can totally problem solve that together. And I would absolutely love to do that. So I will catch you next week, or I'll see you in the DMs. Getting those breaks throughout the day, and even if they're having the bad behavior. Rewards, on the other hand, that is something that they have to earn. They don't just get those if they are engaging in the problem behaviors. Now, if you need help with any of this, there are some free token boards for you in the show notes, as well as some behavior contracts that you can go and download. And as always, I love to chat about this stuff. So slide into my DMs, Mrs. Mo's Modifications, and ask me any questions. If you have a specific student that you're struggling with really hammering these out, we can totally problem solve that together. And I would absolutely love to do that. So I will catch you next week, or I'll see you in the DMs.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Autism Academy 360. We hope that you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead.
Before you go, don't forget to hit that follow button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. If you want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review.
Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and most importantly, stay connected. We'll catch you in the next episode.